What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another classic review. My name is Midnight Strike 3625, and today we're going to be talking a little Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was just released today in movie theaters, and a lot of spoilers are going around the web, so I'm going to be trying to avoid the vast majority of them. I already know one, unfortunately, but I will not divulge or disclose into any spoilers of that film. Because that's not even what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about the video game of the most recent Star Wars film that was released about a decade and 6 months ago. That is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, on PlayStation 2. And this classic review is going to be opening up a new wave of classics. I know I was going to start off with Dystopia by Iced Earth before, but since Star Wars is released today, I figured it'd be a little bit more appropriate to review this little gem right here. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Released May 19th, 2015. Released May 19th, 2005, and I remember that date specifically because that's the day that I went into the theaters, dragged my parents along, and absolutely loved the shit out of it. Now, reviewing it and actually, going back and watching it and reviewing it in my mind, I can definitely see a lot of the downfalls and a lot of the prequel-itis that this film initially inherited. And this video game definitely does have some of that, but I will be getting into it in a little bit. So, with this video game, you basically have a retelling of Star Wars Episode 3, and that's a good and bad thing. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know what's going to happen, and they actually include a lot of video clips from the film to kind of go along with it, but this can be, like I said, a good and a bad thing because, one, it enhances the actual final product, but two, when they use different voice actors and try to blend kind of inferior graphics, because let's be real, these graphics are pretty inferior. They look like a substandard / early PS2 game when it was released well into the console's life cycle. When you combine the two, it doesn't necessarily mesh very well, especially considering that the guy who voiced Titus in Final Fantasy X voiced, it was either Obi-Wan or Anakin, I forget, but I digress. This game is actually pretty decent, all faults aside. I mean, it is a level-based format, so it basically takes you back to the old classic style of gaming where you go through the level, you basically get your spoils, you get your results of how you did, and it adds a little bit of an RPG twist to it and lets you level up certain abilities, and in doing so you actually unlock more and more things. And while you actually unlock more and more levels, you get to face off against different Jedi and different Sith. As, like I said, with Anakin, with Revenge of the Sith, it is about his fall into the dark side, so obviously you're going to be facing both Sith and Jedi as you play as Anakin. But you also get to play as Obi-Wan, and in some of the actual bonus levels, you get to play as Yoda. And that's not all for the single player. There's many more things to explore. There's a lot of secrets which will restore your health, restore your force powers, among other things, and there's a lot of cool cheats to go along with it. And there is a cool Soul Calibur-esque multiplayer. And I say Soul Calibur-esque because it is a 2.5D fighter that really honestly bears strong resemblance to Soul Calibur, which is ironic because 3 years later Soul Calibur 4 would feature Star Wars characters. But that is for a different video for a different day if I ever cover Star Wars or Soul Calibur 4. For this game, it actually works fairly well because if you know how to play Soul Calibur, you'll know how to play this pretty decently, especially considering the grapple is almost virtually identical. Square and triangle, you just go, and there you go, you grapple them. I mean, it's the same thing on the Dreamcast, the left button and the top button. It's the exact same thing. And it feels very, very similar to Soul Calibur as well, sharing a block button and sharing kind of the same basic feel. Now, they're not ripping off Soul Calibur. It's without being a blatant ripoff because, of course, you have your force powers, you have a lot of cool lightsaber abilities, and this game does rely heavily on lightsaber combat. There's even an alternate ending in the single-player mode, in the story mode, where you can go through as Obi-Wan and fight, or no, you fight as Anakin after you fight as Obi-Wan in the final battle, and at the very end, at the very finishing cutscene, when Obi-Wan wins for some reason because he has the high ground, he doesn't. He says it's over, Anakin, I have the high ground, you underestimate my power, and then he jumps and just impales Obi-Wan right through the stomach. Now, I'm sorry to spoil that for you, but if you played the game, you'll have already known it. It's a pretty quick game, so you probably already unlocked it anyways, but I'm sorry if I spoiled that for you. He impales Obi-Wan in the stomach, and then he goes forth to accept his new red lightsaber from Palpatine, and he just impales him too. He kills him, and he says, "No, the galaxy belongs to me." And that right there is a badass ending. It's one of those things where every Star Wars fan has asked themselves, what if Darth Vader had killed Obi-Wan that day? What if Darth Vader had never needed the suit? Would he be as powerful? Would he be as fast with a lightsaber? Would the Empire have more direct control without the need of the Death Star? And what would happen to the rebellion? Would they have been able to get as far as they did in destroying them in Return of the Jedi? And this basically kind of leads us into those questions even more so. So, as far as the game mechanics go, it's pretty standard, beat 'em up. I mean, you're hacking and slashing through all these battle droids, and that's basically what it is. Battle droids and Jedi and just a bunch of different kind of skins, I suppose, because really whether you're facing Jedi or battle droids, they basically operate the same way, the same AI, and they're all just kind of there for you to destroy. There's not really much depth to the game, and that's one of the things that I really was disappointed with, is there's not a lot of depth there. It's very fun, but aside from unlocking some concept art and some extras like that, some extra bonus levels in the co-op mode, which was again disappointing because I thought that I'd be able to play the co-op mode as the story, but no, they just kind of give you some levels where you just destroy a bunch of droids. Not really that much depth there either. There were a few levels in there that I really enjoyed, but they were kind of offset and overshadowed by the levels where all you did was destroy droid, destroy barricade, move forward. Anakin kind of says some one-liners. Obi-Wan says a few one-liners. I bet you didn't see that coming. Twice the pride, double the fall, from Dooku. That one was from the movie, though. But you get my point. It's basically the same thing over and over again every level, or at least for a vast majority of the levels. So, where is it? Where did I put it? Here it is. With this game right here, although the levels are fun, they don't have a lot of depth, and the dialogue is very poor with the one-liners that are spouted by the new actors, the new voice actors, but it is a lot of fun. It does have a really cool Soul Calibur-esque multiplayer that is very competitive, with a lot of different characters. It's got a lot of variety in the characters and the movesets. Every character feels different, which is a nice bonus. And they even have Darth Vader and Ben Kenobi, which Ben Kenobi, I should say. Ben Kenobi is one of my favorite characters to play as in multiplayer. So that's kind of cool. And really, when it comes down to it, this game, while I wouldn't necessarily discard it as being just another movie game, I would say that it does have its flaws, but it's a very fun game to play, and it's worth the pickup, especially nowadays, where you can get a PS2 game for under $5. So give it a whirl. It's a really fun game. I'm going to go out on a limb and give this an 8 out of 10 because I did enjoy it, but it didn't really have a lot of depth to back it up. So that is really all I have to say. 8 out of 10. Check it out if you haven't already. This is Midnight Strike 3625. As always, keep calm and rock on.